see me okay? It's uh it's kind of dark in here, but as long as you can, that's fine.
Yeah, that works. Okay. Um, so my name is Jack Dexter. I I am here today with Professor. Sorry if I butcher this. Aguirre.
Aguirre,
Aguirre. Sorry, yeah. Sorry for
fine.
um.
Nobody, people don't usually get it right, and Aguirre's fine too. I usually say that anyway.
Okay, okay. This is for my History 178 class, and for at Sac State University on Wednesday, November 19th at 4:45 p.m. So let's get started with this. What was the date and place of your birth?
I was born December 27th, 1972, in Roseville, California.
Oh, okay, that's cool. Um, where did you grow up?
I grew up in Orangeville, California. As you know, I went to Casa Roble.
Yeah, I went to Casa High School. Um, what elementary school did you go to? Do you remember or no?
You went to Trajan Elementary, and before that, Coleman Elementary.
Okay, so kind of stayed in that whole
Yeah. OV.
area here.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Um, so what made you want to become a professor?
Ooh, some other friends that are professors, not in ethnic studies, but we always had really good conversations, and they encouraged me to be a professor, to apply. I don't have a PhD, so I didn't think I could. And they're like, no, you can with a master's. So I'm a lecturer here at Sac State, and
Yeah.
yeah, I just have always, enjoyed learning and then explaining stuff, talking about racism and ethnic studies and just different people's backgrounds. And I love it at Sac State. It's just cool meeting the students and, just all the diversity and new thoughts and whatnot. So, yeah, just other friends that were professors and my wife as well encouraged me to do so. So,
Okay, that's really good. What kind of was the process of going to school like for you? Like, how was it trying to become like a professor and all that?
yeah, so I'm already in my 50s, so I became a professor later in life. I've ought to have a whole career in nonprofit and private sector. Been my entire career. And then, so the process through getting through school, I wasn't a very good student when I was in high school. In fact, very bad one, and barely graduated high school. And then went on to Sierra College and attended all the JCs. And luckily, I had somebody that, shepherded me through the JC and got me to Sac State, where I changed my major from fire management over to ethnic studies. And then from there, then I was on the academic path and I got my master's like now about 20 years ago. But so it's been a kind of a long rambled road.
Yeah, a long road, but yeah, the journey is what matters, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Um, as a professor, I know you haven't haven't done it that long, but I just wanted to ask, what has been your biggest accomplishment so far, and what you're most like proud of?
What a big accomplishment as a professor. I've only been here at four semesters. So my first semester, I taught Chicano studies, the intro to Chicano studies, and just putting together that entire syllabus, not the syllabus, but the whole class, all the reading, the material, the video, the class activities was a real feat. There wasn't a lot of help, and
Yeah.
so I did a lot of that on my own, and I feel good about it. It can always be better. I'm always trying to, you know, at the end of every semester, I'm like, oh, I could have done that better. So hopefully I'm getting better as I go. But that was a real big accomplishment. And then just getting to know the students, that's being able to build some relationship with the students and seeing what they're going through and hoping that, you know, uh, they get something out of the class at the end of it. That's always, we get reviews, and so the
Yeah.
students provide reviews. And so when they're good reviews and when I hear the students like, oh, I got a lot of your class or that was really interesting, that's the best review I can get. That's the most important. That's why we're here is for the students. So
Yeah. Um, could you tell me more about like what is, I don't know, I just want to know more about like what does setting up a classroom like look like? I know like because I know you guys set up the syllabus and all that, but do you gotta do that all by yourself, or are you given like a base, like a guide from anyone, or was it just all you?
yeah, I did receive several syllabi from other professors. So I had
Yeah.
a overall outline, and that's
Yeah.
fine. But again, the syllabus was basically just an outline. So I
Yeah.
knew what I was going to teach.
Yes.
Zoot Suit Riots and, uh, you know, all the different things that we learned in our class. So I knew what I was going to teach. It was more how to teach it. So the
Yeah.
syllabus, that's the easy
Yeah,
part.
that's the easy part. It's the getting doing the how to teach it and give the information to students. That's yeah, that's always
Right.
gonna be a tricky part. Yeah.
Yeah. So having like, the PowerPoints, some video, so you don't have to hear from me the whole time. I
Yeah.
had to do the salons where you guys led the conversation.
Yeah.
So trying to get multi-means to get points across.
Okay. Um, what else? Um, what have you enjoyed most about being a professor, and what have you least enjoyed?
Most again is when I get feedback that that the students enjoyed the class and got something out of it.
Mhm.
That's the point. All of us professors, we're here for the students. That should be our first and foremost. That's why we're here, so we keep them at center. I know for some professors, there's more demand. I'm a lecturer, so I don't have to like publish or anything. So that's the biggest reward. Like getting to know the students, and hopefully when I hear they got something out of the class, that's the biggest reward. The toughest thing is, uh, well, one was putting together the classes with little help. That's probably been the toughest thing. Other than that, there hasn't been a lot of downside. I figured out Canvas. It's pretty easy, pretty intuitive. Um, the pay isn't great, but I got other jobs.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, there hasn't been a lot of downsides to be honest, other than initially setting up the class with very little support. Would have been nice to have a little bit more help.
Yeah. Let me think. I'm just trying to like so what's because I feel like throughout like public education we don't really like get to hear about like the stories of like different cultures. I feel like in our history books in general we don't get to hear about all these different stories, and I feel like it needs to be talked about. So what do you think is like something like I guess public education could do a better job at of sharing like not just like Mexican culture but like all cultures and like yeah.
One, I mean, it wasn't that long ago, the last 40 or 50 years, when you did see so much diversity in the classroom. So even
Yeah.
if they had curriculum, you didn't have diverse people explaining
Hmm.
the curriculum. So you need that across the board, so having more diversity. Yeah, I think it's just essential, to incorporate, the whole spectrum of history into the classroom. Into, like you're asking every ethnicity. Like Chicano studies, we're looking just through that paradigm, through that
Yeah.
lens to Latinx Chicano studies.
Hmm.
But that's not because that's more or less important than European or Pacific Islander, on and on and
Yeah,
on.
all that. Yeah.
Everybody was as part of this fabric in this country, so that story needs to be told. And it's there's been a lot of times that's the story of struggle because every immigrant has struggled in this country, and so just explaining that story enriches the whole history of the United States rather than takes away from it. We can't just tell this one little piece, especially right now with what's going on with the Trump administration. I mean, literally signing executive orders to make like America, like the history more pure or whatever it said to that effect. It's like,
Yeah,
what's the
yeah,
full story of the history?
yeah,
We're not sugarcoating it. It doesn't mean it's a good or bad thing. Forget about
yeah.
good. It's
Yeah,
just what happened, you know?
yeah, yeah. History is a lot of gray. It's not all black and white. I feel like we
Right.
try to, yeah, make it too much of that sometimes.
It's complicated.
Um, yeah, it is very complicated, and yeah, I wish there was like, I don't know, when I was in high school and we had electives, there was not really options like we have in college of like a Chicano studies or a Chinese like studies or whatever culture it is. Like
Right.
give like options at least. Don't like I feel like the options aren't there right now, and hopefully that can be improved in the next decades or something. But yeah, as of
Sorry
right
to
now, it's
yeah,
not like
for sure.
yeah. So there was another question I wanted to ask. Um. So, what did your career look like before you became a professor? What did that look like?
Before I got my master's in 2005, so 20 years ago, and
Okay.
then I worked for a nonprofit and we did a lot of like regional planning around
Mhm.
land use, transportation, healthcare, research projects. So I did that, you know. And prior to that, though, I've been a stockbroker. I was a wildland firefighter. I worked at, you know, you name it. I've done a lot of
Yeah.
different things.
Yeah.
So, so it's a whole storied past, but I think I bring that into the classroom. But to your question, I worked for that nonprofit for about 7, 8 years, and then I went on to the American River Parkway Foundation, where I raised funds to protect the parkway, and we got some funding for educational classes. I've just worked in a lot of different industries and organizations, mainly in the nonprofit profit sector. I've started two nonprofits that are still around today, Alchemist and Bike Lab. You know, they're still going today. And then most recently, other than Sac State, I also work at an engineering firm on the
Okay.
environmental side. And so I do that as well.
It's pretty cool.
So
Yeah.
kind of all over the place, probably more than most, but it's just, you know, I think I'm able to bring a lot of that into the classroom.
Um, how did Mexican culture like influence like the way you grew up as like as a kid and through adulthood and everything? How did that influence you?
So I'm Mexican Italian, and so
Yeah.
my dad is Mexican, and
Yeah.
that's where my last name Aguirre comes from.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, he didn't raise me. He wasn't around that much,
Okay.
and so I had less exposure to that side of the
Yeah.
thing. But I still
Yeah.
did. They
Yeah.
we had a Mexican restaurant up in South Lake Tahoe, and so I would take the Greyhound up there and see them and hang out. And so I got a was able to see them and you know the cuisine, of course, is a big deal. Well, we had a Mexican restaurant, so
Yeah.
you know we were
Yeah.
always eating and learning
Yeah.
recipes from my granny, and
Yeah.
so that was cool. We were Catholic when I was younger, and then actually
Mhm.
the family moved over to a non-denominational Christian church,
Mhm.
and so that was it wasn't as you know, then it was pretty diverse. It wasn't just Mexican Catholic. It was, you know, pretty diverse on that side. Um, yeah, I mean, so it's definitely you know shaped who I am. You know, I wasn't directly connected because of my dad. You
Yeah.
know, and so but yeah, definitely you know a bit huge part of who I am and whatnot. And maybe that's what drove me into ethnic studies later on in life. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. That's yeah. Um. Hmm. What else? So, what's trying to think of the questions I want to ask because there's just so many. It's like it's crazy. Um. What was the like first ever job you did like in high school, college, wherever? What was the first ever job you had?
First job, other than you know just around the neighborhood, you know,
Yeah.
mowing lawns and odd
Yeah.
jobs. I think my then we had I had a paper route. That was
Yeah.
my first job when I was 12. And then after that, I worked at Perco's this little diner over on Sunrise. It's gone now, but
Mm.
and I was the dishwasher.
Oh, okay.
We were just talking about that coincidentally, my buddy and I. And man, being the dishwasher sucks. You don't get
Yeah.
tips, and there's just
Yeah.
a bazillion dishes. So when it's
Yes.
busy, you don't get tips, and you're just slammed, and it's just you're just sweating back there, and yeah, it's a dirty job, despite the fact that you're working on the water and stuff. But it's still, yeah. So dishwasher and a paper boy was my one of my first jobs.
Oh, okay. Nice. So one thing I wanted to ask was, do you feel like, um, as a Mexican, like Italian, did you feel like you faced like a lot of discrimination, like growing up through school or like in your community? Did you ever feel like you were discriminated against a lot?
Not a lot because I'm fair, I'm fair complected,
Yeah.
so I'm more,
Yeah.
Italian maybe.
Yeah.
But I would hear I had a and grew up in Orangeville. There was
Yeah.
definitely some racist comments and stuff. But my
Hmm.
buddies I ran around with, one of my other buddies is Mexican, and the other guys were not, but we had a good crew. And so when we'd hear like some racist stuff about Mexicans, and
Yeah.
usually my buddy and I didn't have to say anything because my other buddy was like, "Hey, Chris is Mexican. Don't be saying that shit. Or saying
Yeah.
that stuff."
Yeah.
So not too bad. We had a neighbor on my street, and my other buddy and I, he's Mexican, and he's darker than me, and she would yell at us. She would tell us that we're dirty Mexicans, and
Wow.
we would laugh because we were just like, we were 11 or 12, and we were always,
Yeah.
kind of screwing with her, but we had a paper route. We throw her that paper against the door because she was such a jerk. And so she did not like us. And we were always out on the street playing baseball and stuff. And so, but it was a trip. It was wild that she would say that. We kind of just laughed about it, but I mean, it was totally racist, you know.
Yeah, that's wild.
But yeah, yeah. For the most part, not so much, other than have to endure a lot of times when you're the only Mexican in the room, whether people know it or not, and then people saying like some
Y-
racist stuff, and then you got to
Yeah.
decide, like, is this where I want to fight about this or not? So
Yeah. Yeah. I can't believe someone would say that to a bunch of 12-year-old kids. That's
it was bizarre.
crazy. I'm like, you would say this to
She
12-year-old
didn't care.
kids.
It was just nonchalant. She would call us, yeah, just racist terms and just like, yeah, and we just laugh. We were kids, like, screw
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. Oh man. Um, hmm. how is how does like I know the borders kind of like the situation has changed like over the past like years, decades. Does it look any better now than it did like 30 or 40 years ago? Or is it kind of still the same?
The what?
The border situation.
Oh yeah. Well, right now, I mean, it's always been, I mean, well, one of the busiest border in the world. And I don't even know if it is now, if that's still the case,
Yeah.
because the words got out. Don't come to the
Hmm.
border. Don't come to the
Hmm.
U.S. So I
Yeah.
think, crossings have gone way down under this
Yeah.
administration, and so the border, maybe probably looks like it has for many, many years. But the main thing is just how we're deporting people. It's totally
Yeah.
inhumane. The Catholic Church has even come out and said that the deportations are, this is not how we treat humans, your
Yeah.
fellow
It's
humans.
yeah.
And so this is most other administrations have a criteria of how to deport people. Trump
Yeah.
doesn't care. People are losing asylum. I mean, it's despicable. It's just not. It's inhumane. It really is inhumane.
Mm.
So it's, yeah, scary time if you're here illegally.
Yeah. Something that hopefully can change in the near future, but yeah,
Totally.
we'll see. Yeah. Um, what I know you said you weren't super like close with your dad, but did you have any like values from Mexican culture that like carried over into your life, like even now?
Yeah, definitely. from my dad as well, but
Yeah.
also mainly more my extended family.
Yeah.
And with my grandmother and grandfather and my uncles, who they passed on, but
Yeah.
my aunt and uncles, and so just I mean, just that strong family value. And again, yeah, that's a Latino thing, but that's just a human thing, right? Who
Yeah.
doesn't, but I think, also when you're kind of in this clan of like we're all in this together, so you kind of have a tight knit. It's like we gotta stick together, you know. So I think just that, just kind of family values. Um, I'm not religious, but a lot of my family is. And so, but when
Mhm.
I am with them, I go to church and stuff and pray with them. Um, but more so as far as like the Mexican culture, it's more like the cuisine that stuck with me the
Yeah.
most.
Yeah.
Yeah. And and then just some practices. Again, I'm not religious, but we practice Dia de los Muertos and even some of my friends who are Catholic, I will go to mass with them, but not on a regular basis.
Yeah. So I know you said a couple of your buddies in high school were Mexican. Did you guys ever go to any like any clubs or like any kind of like events that were like specifically for like Mexican culture or no?
Yeah, we used to go to we go to regular clubs, and so again, this is
Yeah.
years ago. Like we're talking like you know, uh, um, who are the artists? But like more R&B and stuff. But we would go to
Hmm.
a club over on uh, like Elkhorn and Hardin or something like that, over
Yeah.
by Country Club Lanes over there,
Yeah.
and that was yeah. I don't know if it's still there or not, and but yeah, we'd go there and it was like Latino night, and so we go dance and everything, and it was like
Oh,
all
okay.
salsa and
Yeah.
ranchera and whatnot, and so that was a lot of fun. That was hella fun. And then
Yeah.
sometimes the other clubs around here would have in Sacramento, because I lived in downtown, and they would have like Latin night, and so we'd go to those, and it'd be all Latin music, which was a lot of fun. In fact, we were at Faces, which is the gay club right there. But years ago, they had Latin night, and it was just a whole mix of folks. And me and my
Hmm.
friend, her and I won third place in the dance contest.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That'd be fun to see you on the dance.
yeah. I don't know. I don't know if it goes well now, but I still got it. I still can dance. I got
Yeah.
moves.
Yeah. Oh man. That's fun. Oh. Um, so what's um what's a piece of advice you would give to like students like I guess like modern students about like Mexican, well not just I guess Mexican culture, like what we should do to like preserve that and like keep that going, like because I think it is a big part of not just Mexican history, but it's a huge part of like American history because like and that needs to be shared. And I feel like yes, we've done a better job of the past few decades of sharing it, but it needs to be like shared even more than it has been. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it's important that you know, as you learned in the class or probably knew beforehand, that this used to be Mexico. And so that experience, the Latino spirit experience, but also sometimes just specific to the Mexican experience. Because
Yeah.
this used to be Mexico, the Becero program, where specifically Mexicans came up into the country. And some of the students and whatnot, their family were Beceros, in the 40s and 50s and 60s. And so I think that's just that connection just needs to be maintained, that this has been you know, just a long journey, and of, that we should celebrate, but also be aware of all the struggles that unique to Mexicans, similar to Native Americans who lost a lot of land, lost their culture, and so I just think that should be, you know, just needs to be, again, it's just an awareness. It's not, diminishing the history of the United
Mhm.
States. It's just part of it,
Yes.
you know, even
Yeah.
all these folks that we learned about in the class. all these leaders, like Tijerina and Jose Angel Gutierrez and whatnot. I mean,
Hmm.
they fought during the struggle, but they weren't complaining that how thing. I mean, there wasn't. Maybe they did at some point. I know, obviously don't know them personally, but it's like, it's like they weren't complaining. It's like, hey, there's some injustices. I'd rather just go about my thing and just do my thing. But I got
Yeah.
to address this right now. You know what I mean? So there's some, and there's wonderful people, in every single walk in life, and horrible people. So I mean, it's like my point being is just, they were addressing a system and an institution and trying to change something because like we have that right as U.S. citizens, if you're a U.S. citizen, to make it better. You know,
Yes.
I think that's just that experience needs to be broadcasted, whether you're Mexican or not. That it's up to us
Yes.
to make this country better, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Just gotta share the stories and continue like presenting that
Yeah.
culture because yeah,
We're
culture,
going
I
through
mean,
it,
cultures of all
right
walks of
now.
life is yeah, important and no one should ever be diminished or anything because of their culture. So it's unfortunate when that does happen because I mean we've seen violent outbursts against like Mexican culture in like LA and everything, and
Yeah.
it's really unfortunate.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. And it's like, yeah, even back then, what we're talking about, like Zoot Suit riots and stuff, and even now,
Yes.
it's like,
Yeah.
you're Mexican and it looks like you have less reason to be here. And it's like the vast majority of those folks down in LA and whatnot are US citizens. It's like, hey,
Yeah. It's like
I don't have
yeah.
my citizen doesn't mean a little bit less than the next person, just
Yeah.
because, you know, I became a citizen later or whatever,
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully we can somehow learn to get along in the near future because
Yeah.
yeah,
And a
there's a
lot
lot of racial tension.
Yeah, exactly. There's always going to be that tension, but then there's also going to be that resistance and people helping with that, understanding that, you know,
Yeah.
we're all trying to get by here.
Yeah. Really. Yeah. Um, so yeah. Um, what else do I have to say? Um, so yeah, I guess I can't think of really too many questions.
Is
Again, I
this
guess like,
for, I mean,
huh?
like for the assignment, is it you're just supposed to interview another professor on campus?
It can be like so anyone that's
Or I
like
guess Mexican,
involved
because
in
yeah.
anything that's involved in like Mexican or like Latina culture, like all that kind of stuff. So it's just broad. She gave like very like people could interview like family members and stuff like that. Um, so I thought you were a perfect candidate for that because I'm like I really enjoyed your class. It was a really informal class, and I feel like a lot of the stuff you taught trans it translated over to what I'm learning now in the Mexican American history class, which is really cool to see.
Wait, good deal. Good to hear, man.
Yeah, no,
That's
it's
good to
yeah,
hear.
yeah. I think yeah, so I'm trying to word this right. What would you say like I know like documents are important, but would you say like just talking about it is the biggest like thing to like we got to have like these uncomfortable conversations. I think that's the like probably most important, but what would you say is the most important for continuing the legacy of like Mexican or Latino culture?
Why, luckily, it's so rich and there's so
Yeah,
many of us that it's not going
yes.
away. So
Yeah,
it'll always be, ingrained in
yes.
this country no matter
Yes.
what, whether
Yes.
people like it or not. It's just an
Yes.
integral part of this country. And so I think that's like there's no risk of it going away. It's
Yes.
just that who gets to tell it? Because we have a huge
Yes.
swath of the population in California and the United States are undocumented, right? And
Yes.
especially out in the fields, you know,
Yes.
well over two-thirds of those are undocumented.
Yes.
And so they're kind of in the shadows, man. You know what I mean? They're like, okay, I just don't don't raise a fuss, don't kind of go out, you know what I mean? They can't like enjoy the whole California, you
Yeah.
know? Because it's like, gosh, yeah, especially now, especially now, if I was undocumented or even if I had family members in my house that were, I'd be like, hey man, you better just lay low, you know?
Yeah.
And so that's unfortunate. That's so to your I mean, I think whether Mexican or not, Latino or not,
Yes.
we need
Hmm.
we need a legitimate path to citizenship, you know?
Yes.
I mean, these folks
Yes.
come over here and pick our fruit and vegetables, you know,
Yes.
and don't have any way to become citizens. They do, some eventually do, but it's
Yes.
not clear or easy. And that's a
Yeah.
shame. That's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah. Because then you kind of erase their story and then they don't get to tell like their story and that kind of gets like I mean not erased, but like, they have to go back to their home country and that's not always the best situation for them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's like I can tell you my story from my grandparents' side when they both came up here illegally and worked
yeah.
in the and luckily because they did that, so I don't have to. I sure the hell ain't
Yeah.
gonna go do that, and so like, but people would be able to tell those stories like firsthand right now, what that
Yeah.
looks
Yeah. And that's what the shame is right now is they're all getting kicked out and everything and it's like yeah, it's a very inhumane process of what they're doing right now. It's sad.
like.
Yeah.
It's tough to see, man. It's just, it's not just Latinos. It's
Yeah.
largely Latinos, but not just,
Yes. Yes, it's
so
like
wrong.
it's very, very wrong. Yeah, and hopefully enough people will be able to step up and change because that's like the big thing. You got to get enough people. I mean, you saw what happened with like I think it was the East LA walkouts where they all like walked out and said we like demand like better for us. And that's what's got to happen is like we got to have these big like forms of protest and it can't just be like I mean yeah 100,000 people is a lot but it has to be on the big scales like millions of people and be like we demand change. Yeah.
Exactly. Which hopefully we'll start seeing that. I mean, I know we've
Yeah.
had some protests and whatnot, like the No King
Yes.
protests, which are great,
Yeah.
but it's like, then what? And then we have to
Yes.
demand the politicians to do something about it. I'm not seeing that
Yeah.
yet.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that's all I have for you. I just wanted to thank you for this. Yeah. Thankful for the opportunity to get to interview you. It was a pleasure to get to hear your story and hear your perspective on everything.
Well, yeah, thanks for reaching out, Jack. I appreciate it, man. I mean, I totally appreciate it. Anytime I can help. If you have any other questions, just shoot me an email. If you
Okay.
forget to ask me something, happy to get that back to you, quickly. So,
Okay.
so, so, man, well, congrats on the graduation in May. So,
Thank you. Yeah, I'm
yeah.
looking forward to it. Yeah, I'm looking to become a teacher myself. So yeah, that's gonna be
Oh,
fun.
at the
Yeah.
college level or high school?
Probably at the high school level, probably gonna try to teach like American history and try to show like all stories of like American history. So I mean, I know there's a curriculum, but like try to share more stories that aren't always shared in the books.
Right on. Oh,
Yeah.
excellent. Okay, well, even after you leave Sac State, let me know because I got a bunch of
Yeah.
friends. I got a buddy that teaches here. He's been teaching for 25 years. He taught at Natomas High and now Folsom High. His
Oh,
wife's a
okay.
teacher, and I got another friend that's a high school teacher. So,
Okay.
yeah,
I'll have to email you about that because yeah, that's definitely something I wouldn't mind looking into. Yeah.
yeah. Anything I can do to help, let me know.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, and go Niners, man. I saw your
Yeah,
your
yeah, I
sweatshirt.
know. Yeah, yeah, they're doing good this year so far with all the injuries.
Good
Yeah,
last Sunday, dude.
yeah.
Good.
They, I was like, what? Brock Purdy's finally back. Yeah, it's
Yeah. Matt Jones did pretty good
he did
considering.
pretty good. For being back up. I was pretty impressed by that. Yeah,
But yeah, that was good. Pretty, and it's good to have Kittle back. That's huge.
yeah, yes.
So
He's been a stud. Yeah, it's been nice seeing a team win this year and not having so many. I mean, they still have had a bunch of injuries, but they've been able to win. So,
Cool. So,
yeah,
all right, man. Well, keep in touch, man. So, and good luck.
good. Thank you. Bye.
All right, take care.